his wife and the Speaker of Parliament if she had died?
Well, never a dull day in Philippine politics. I think you can really see the legacy of American colonialism in the Philippines. We're really competing for who has the most dramatic politics. Well, I don't know how to put it, but this was not the first time that the vice president made threatening comments against the president. Just the other month in a press conference, she said that she daydreams about beheading the president. And back then she said, oh, that was just symbolic. It was just metaphorical. But this time it's going to be much harder for her to dismiss this threat because she tried to walk it back again later on. And now the National Bureau of Investigation is looking into serious charges against the vice president, who, unlike the president, doesn't have full immunity from criminal charges. And if ever she's found guilty, she could be disqualified from running for office. The thing with Duterte is they're lashing out in a moment of desperation. The walls are closing in on them. As we speak, there are investigations and hearings, one after the other, about alleged anomalies and corrupt practices, graft in the office of Sara Duterte, allegedly when she was the Department of Education Secretary, and she continues to be the vice president. Her father, the former president, Rodrigo Duterte, could face an ICC warrant of arrest in the coming months based on some of the speculations. So the whole house of Duterte is sensing that the walls are closing in, so they're lashing out back and trying to portray themselves as defiant victims of supposed political persecution by President Marcos and his allies.
And of course, everyone knows about the history of the house of the Marcoses as well. So in that vein, does she have any reason to fear for her safety?
Well, I mean, she apparently said that she didn't do anything wrong because her threat was a conditional threat, meaning if only I get killed, then you're going to get killed. But I'm not sure that that's how it works in law. It's like, a mafia guy saying, well, I didn't say I want to kill you. It's just if you don't pay, maybe something happens to you. So legally speaking, she is facing certain exposure. Now, going back to this, I think the mistake of Vice President Sara Duterte is that she's not realizing that unlike her father, she's not the president, right? So she's not the most powerful figure. And more importantly, she's up against the Marcoses, who are the OGs when it comes to Philippine politics. They have been in this business for a long time. And Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who is much more soft-spoken than his father, the late dictator Marcos Sr., has generally tried to avoid direct clash with the family. But in a very spirited speech, perhaps the first time I've seen him angry and pissed off, he said he's not going to let go of this. That because his wife was threatened, his cousin, the Speaker of House, was threatened, and the office of the president was threatened not once, but multiple times, he will fight back. So let's see if the moment of truth is before us.
So how do you see that playing out? How do you think Ferdinand Marcos Jr. might fight back?
Well, he has many options, right? As I said, on one hand, the National Bureau of Investigation could push ahead with criminal charges against her. The father, former President Duterte, didn't help the situation because the next day after his daughter's threatening statement, he implied that perhaps the military should come in and solve the problem, right? So the father could also face an incitement to sedition charge. There could be also investigations by the military and security services if there are indeed some seditious or coup plots by elements, tied to the Dutertes. And of course, President Marcos Jr. could also support impeachment proceedings by the Philippine House of Representatives, who has been also at the receiving end of attacks and threats by the Duterte family. But the ultimate one is the ICC. The International Criminal Court has been investigating tens of thousands of alleged extrajudicial killings under the former President Duterte. Sara Duterte was a mayor also back then, so the family could also face serious charges by the ICC for mass atrocities. So all of these things, Marcos has a lot of cards to play.
Yes, indeed. And so can we effectively say that this political